You've probably heard the phrase, data tells a story. But let's be real, in business, data isn't just a story, it's your bottom line. And if you misread that story, you're looking at wasted money, bad strategies, and huge missed opportunities. Today we're going to decode one of the most powerful signals your data can ever send you. It's a signal that once you learn to see it, will completely change how you solve problems.
So take a look at this. If this chart landed on your desk right now, what's your gut reaction? I mean, it's not that clean, predictable bell curve we all love to see, is it? It's got these two distinct peaks, two centers of gravity. Now, your first thought might be to just dismiss it. It's an error, a glitch in the data. But what if it's not a mistake? What if it's the single most important clue you've gotten all year? That's the puzzle we're here to solve.
All right, here's how we're going to break this down. First, we'll tackle the double-peaked puzzle itself. Then we'll look at one peak versus two, just to build a solid foundation. After that, we get to the core insight, the story of two processes. From there, we'll shift into a practical framework for uncovering the cause. And we'll wrap it all up with your new data mandate, a simple rule that will guide you from now on.
Okay, let's dive right in. That weird shape you saw? That isn't noise you should filter out. It's a signal you need to turn up. Think of it like this. It's the data equivalent of a giant flashing red light on your car's dashboard. It's screaming at you to pull over and look under the hood because the engine is not running the way you think it is.
Now, the technical term for this is a bimodal distribution. And bimodal literally just means two modes. As you'll see, a mode is just a peak. So you've got two peaks because your data has two favorite outcomes, two really common results. And trust me, this is not just some statistical quirk. It's a sign of a real operational split, a hidden complexity inside what you thought was just one simple system.
So, to really get why seeing two peaks is such a game changer, we first have to be crystal clear on what it means to see just one. You have to understand the normal, expected pattern to really appreciate how big of a deal this deviation is.
And this all comes down to one simple idea, the mode. In any set of data, the mode is just the number that shows up the most often. On a chart, it's the peak. It's your most common result. So when you have one peak, you've got one main thing happening. But when your data shows two, well, now you've got two different things competing for attention.
And this is where it all clicks. Look at the left, a unimodal distribution. One peak, one mode. This represents a single, stable, predictable process. It's what you want to see. It means things are under control. Now look at the right, our bimodal distribution. Two peaks, two modes. This shows plain as day that your data is actually a mix. You're not looking at one process, you're looking at the jumbled up results of two totally different processes.
And that right there brings us to the absolute heart of this whole thing. This is the big aha moment. This is where we stop just looking at a weird chart and start understanding a fundamental business reality. Honestly, this insight is what separates a basic analyst from a real data-driven leader.
So here's the bottom line, and if you remember one thing, make it this. When you see two peaks, you are almost certainly looking at blended data from two completely separate groups. It could be two different machines, two different shifts, two suppliers, two types of customers. You thought you were measuring one thing, but you were actually measuring two. And just taking the average of those two is totally meaningless. It's worse than useless, it's misleading.
Let's use a classic example to make this real. Imagine your school principal looking at test scores, and bam, you see this bimodal shape. One group of scores is clustered way up around 75. But another, just as big, is clustered way down at 30. Now, a lazy analysis would just calculate the average, maybe 52, and say the class is underperforming. But that's just wrong. You don't have one underperforming class. The data is screaming at you. You have two different groups. One group gets it and might even be bored. The other group is completely lost. So what do? A one-size-fits-all approach is guaranteed to fail. You need targeted action. Extra challenges for the high performers, and real focused support for the kids who are struggling. Seeing those two peaks is what lets you do that effectively.
Okay, so identifying that there are two processes is the what. Now it's time for the why. This is where we put on our consultant hats. We're not just analysts anymore, we're problem solvers, and we're using this data as a treasure map to find the root cause of what's going on.
All right, I'm putting you in the hot seat. You're the head of operations at a factory. Your quality team brings you data on the diameter of a critical part, and it's got a clear bimodal distribution. One peak is perfect, right in spec, but the other peak is pushing the limits. Your defect rate is going up. So, what's causing this?
To tackle this, you can't just guess. You need a structured approach, a diagnostic checklist. So let's break it down.
First up, machine variation. Maybe you have two production lines, A and B. Is it possible that the tools on line B are wearing out, making the parts just a little bit bigger? Okay, second, operator shifts. You've got a day shift and a night shift. Are they following the exact same procedure? Maybe the night shift supervisor is newer, leading to small differences. And third, you got to look upstream, supplier parts. Maybe you get a key component from two different suppliers. Is the material from supplier X just slightly different from supplier Y's?
And the answer, well, it could be any of these, right? Or even a mix of them. Each one of those scenarios introduces a second process into your system. But the key here isn't just knowing these are possibilities. The bimodal chart is your justification to investigate. Instead of trying to fix the whole factory, you can now do a super targeted analysis. You split the data, compare line A to line B, day shift to night shift, supplier X to supplier Y. That bimodal distribution was the clue that told you exactly where to look.
So after all that, what's the one thing you absolutely need to walk away with? We're going to boil this entire concept down to one powerful, unforgettable rule. This is your new mandate for looking at data.
This is it. Burn this into your brain. When you see two peaks, think two processes. It is the simplest and honestly the most powerful rule of thumb in day-to-day data analysis. It immediately stops you from making that huge mistake of calculating a meaningless average. It forces you to ask the right questions. What are the two processes? Why are they different? And what's it costing us to let them both exist? So from now on, when a chart lands on your desk, don't just see shapes and lines. Look deeper. Look for the plot twists, because now you know how to spot them. The only question left is, what hidden stories, what expensive dual processes are just sitting there waiting to be discovered in your data? Finding them isn't luck anymore. It's just a matter of looking.